I want you to answer this question as you watch Rufai Oseni and Reuben Abati give their own take on Wike's, final end of the year press meeting, whatever you want to call it. But the big question I want you to find out, I want you to answer rather, is Wike that important right now? Is Wike thinking that it's more important than it really is? Because outside of government, outside of being the FCT Minister, what value does Wike have? What relevance does it really have? Since Fubara moved away from the PDP to the APC, which obviously Nigerians have come to understand unnerved Wike a lot, made Wike, it sort of struck him. It was like a shock to him because Fubara did what Rufai Oseni called a master stroke. Rufai Oseni played the game to Wike, took the game to Wike, and that unnerved Wike. And because now they're now serving the same master, Wike is not nor the power that be anymore in Rivers State. But the big question now is this: who will Tinubu work with in 2027 between Fubara and Wike? That's a big question. We're not talking about who Nigerians will choose. We're talking about who will Tinubu work with to help him allegedly again rig the 2027 election in Rivers State. Who will he work with? It's a big question. But Rufai Oseni said something very striking. This is why I want you to watch this to the end. Rufai Oseni said that what Fubara did was a masterstroke. By defecting to the APC, knowing the fact that Wike works for Bola Tinubu, that obviously unnerved Wike. That made him, it was a shock. And Wike needed time to pull himself together to now start doing this tour around River State. And Nigerians are asking this question, which is what Abati is asking. Under whose authority is he doing that tour? Is he using his own personal funds to do this tour around River State, to meet local government chairman and to do Thanksgiving or thank you meeting for the rest of the... But the question still remains the same. Who would Bola Tinubu work with? Reuben Abati says that, or said in this situation that Wike is being delusional. For Wike to say to Fubara that Fubara cannot be the leader of APC in Rivers State, who would then be the leader of APC in Rivers State if not Fubara? Are you saying that the other people, like the governor of Delta State that defected to the APC, is not the leader of APC in Delta State, or Akwa Ibom State that defected to the APC? So if these same people can defect and they're the leaders of their own state, why is Fubara's one different? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not supporting Fubara. I take the side of Dele Faratimi, where he said that this fight is fight amongst thieves. I take that side. However, in the grand scheme of things, I haven't become the ex-governor of the state. What is your relevance in that state? Who has more authority over state? What do you think of when you hear this politician say that, somebody like Wike say that he has the structure in Rivers State is his own structure? Because we know that in Nigeria, when politicians say that the structure in a state belongs to them, we know it's a structure of rigging, it's a structure of criminality, it's a structure where they determine how they will rig elections. It's not a structure on policies where we have people who plant in different places who are policy builders, policy creators who can help you create good policies. It's not about that. It's about the structure where they can rig elections. So when Wike says he has the structure belongs to him. Do you agree with that assertion as well as the structure of criminality? This is why I say you should watch this to the end. This is why you must subscribe to this channel, because we give you the information and we break them down easily for you. That's the question we're asking. Dele Faratimi said it clearly, is a fight amongst thieves. People made agreement on how to share state resources. One person broke away from that agreement. But now they are now both working for Tinubu, who has a history of never following through with political agreement, because everything must serve at his own pleasure. So if everybody must serve at Tinubu's pleasure, Tinubu now has a right now to choose who of the two of them who we work with. Remember, you have one thief, another thief working together, and they couldn't come to an agreement and now go to a bigger thief to be under that bigger thief. This is the system that Nigeria has built right now. We have a Bola Tinubu who's the president, for whom he was elected, we can rig the election for in 2023. And now he's fighting with the person whom he tried to enthrone to be the governor of the state. And now they couldn't resolve their problem. And they've now found themselves under the subjection of Bola Tinubu, in quote. Would you agree with that? This is a big question. This is what is playing out in Nigeria right now. But do you also agree with Reuben Abati's stand? And I want you to watch this again to the end, where it says Wike is being delusional, that Wike's only relevance is FCT Minister. That's the relevance. What exactly is Wike going to give? Because for Wike to be relevant to Bola Tinubu, it needs to be able to say, I will deliver River State to you for this with the structure that I have. Again, like I said, that structure is a structure of rigging. So if Wike can say to Bola Tinubu, with my structure of rigging in place, I can give you to River State, then I'm important. But if you cannot do that, then what is his relevance? That's why Wike is still fighting. I've said this many times. 2027 election is more important to Wike than it is to Bola Tinubu, because Bola Tinubu is Wike's protection at the moment. If Bola Tinubu loses 2027 election, Wike is exposed completely. And you see exactly what is happening to the former Attorney General of the Federation, Malami. Wike becomes the next like that. You see what is happening to the former CBN governor? It's exactly the same thing. Because Wike has bought so many political enemies. Every step he takes outside of government becomes a landmine. It's a fact. Nigerians know that. Politicians know that, and we are telling you right now. This is the fact of the matter on ground. If Wike decides, if Bola Tinubu wins, for example, loses, for example, Wike is in trouble. But the question now is that whether or not you agree with that. So I want you to watch this to the end. Remember to like and share and subscribe to this channel. If you're not subscribed yet, click on the notification icon. But also remember that big question. Is Tinubu willing to work with Fubara, or will he be willing to work with Wike in 2027? What do you think? Watch this to the end. I'll catch you in a minute.
But as regards the Wike case, yes, it's obviously certain that what Fubara did to decamp to the APC is a masterstroke. So when Wike feels impacted, definitely he too will go on a power show. And that's why he's probably going to all the local governments to reassert himself. And he's saying he's still going to have having a local government tour. The conversation about 001, when they asked him that question, he did spite him. He was taken aback and said he'll be the one to determine because he's the one that has the structure. Yes, he has the structure in the States, no doubt about that. But also it's President Tinubu's call. But it's even a dicey one for both Wike and Fubara. Because President Tinubu has now been provided a very good vantage point for Rivers. Who does he want to work with? Is he going to put Fubara as an incumbent governor, or is he going to pick Wike? Based on historical antecedents, and based on the interview Dr. Abati had with Seyi Makinde, it has shown that President Tinubu might not act in good faith when it comes to political agreements. Because you remember when Seyi Makinde said he went to meet the president and said, oh, at least we should be able to have an input to who's going to be minister from the States. He didn't listen to him. He put his own person there. So it's a dicey one for both of them. But time will reveal who President Tinubu will work with. President Tinubu will say, okay, I'm tired of Wike's excesses. Let me go with the way of Fubara. And definitely if he goes with the way of Fubara, then he's going to get a second term. And Wike that keeps showboating about structure. Structures are not cast in stone. Structures come, structures go, structures evolve.
To go to the substance of the interview itself, he was talking about Fubara not being the leader of the APC in Rivers State. When he was governor, he asserted himself as leader of the party, at that time the PDP, in Rivers State. So what he wanted for himself, he does not want for another person. And then, of course, he says Fubara must not call himself 001. So who is 001 in Rivers State? I see it as his emotional reaction to the fact that Fubara, the governor of Rivers State, is trying to beat him at his own game. The man has now decided to join the APC and say, if this is the way the game is played, let us play it the same way. Now, Nyesom Wike, in staying in Rivers State, we were told, has been visiting constituencies, visiting local governments. Please, in what capacity? As who? His only relevance at this time is Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. So he will say he's playing politics in Rivers State, but what is his bona fide? What is the bona fide that he has ascribed to himself? The final point is that, look, I think Wike is just delusional. He thinks he's more important than he is. But he should be reminded that there is time to all of this. There is nemesis to all of this. He can say he's this and that, and I hope that at the end of the day, he and President Tinubu, that he says is helping, will reach a proper concurrence.